I had guests coming over, and I wanted to provide a surprising yet delightful smart home experience. So using the smart home heuristics, it led me to create a private home assistant dashboard to control music in the living room. But the crazy part was that the dashboard wasn't built using Home Assistant. Yeah, you heard that right. I created a dashboard that guests could use that didn't use the traditional Home Assistant tools. Now, this dashboard was designed to let guests request songs and play it on my smart home speaker, but because of how it was built, I had the dopest twists to it. But to appreciate that twist and, of course, how it all works, we're gonna have to jump back a bit and get some context. Now, my wife and I were hosting a potluck for the music team members of the church that we attend, and I wanted to create a nice smart home experience that wasn't overwhelming or too gimmicky or lame. The thing is that I didn't know what I could do besides from turning off and on lights. I know, right? Tell me, what smart home experience would you've created? Like if you had guests coming over and you wanted to like have a soft flex, but not make it too over the top, like what would you do? Bro, no one asked you. Okay, let me know in the comments. This was the challenge. Create a smart home experience that guests would find delightful and easy to use. The automation should only work when guests are over and be disabled at all other times. I also need to solve the nebulous question, is this experience gimmicky? Now, it feels like there's a lot to unpack here, so let's start with the hardest question first. What automation should I do? Fortunately, the answer was surprisingly straightforward. I mean, like it took several hours for me to think about it, but once it clicked that I'm inviting music team members over, then it felt pretty obvious that my automation should be music based. And then with a little more thought, I landed on two different automations. The first is an automation that plays music when someone enters a bathroom. The other is an automation that plays music in the living room. Now, I know this sounds really simple, but stay with me, right? Because as you're about to see, it was actually bathroom elevator music. I'll just call this ambient music automation, right? This is like an ambient bathroom automation. So my idea for this automation was inspired by old school elevator music. Like here's what it would look like. A person would walk into the bathroom and then a few seconds later, music would start to play on the speakers located above the toilet. Now I want to delightfully surprise my guests, not give them a conniption. So to set the ambiance, the volume would be low enough for people outside not to hear anything, but high enough that people within the bathroom can hear it over the traditional bathroom noises, if you know what I mean. The music would be from genres that has general appeal, so I'm choosing lo-fi and smooth jazz. To trigger the automation, I'm piggybacking off of a previous automation that I built called Wasp in a Box. Now, the Wasp in a Box automation is a logic-based automation that there's kind of a lot of automations there. But Wasp in a Box is basically a logic-based automation that turns off and on lights in an enclosed space based on the status of motion sensors and door sensors. Now, for those of you hearing about it for the first time, here's the premise. Imagine you had a box. You can't see in the box, but the box can detect motion on the inside and can let you know about it. Now, suppose a wasp flew into the box. The box would register that motion as long as the wasp was flying, but if it lands, then you won't really be able to know if the wasp was actually in the box, like it stopped moving, or whether or not it had flown out. But we can make some assumptions if the box was closed after the wasp flies in. We can say with certainty that if motion is detected at least once after the box was closed, then we know that the wasp is still inside the box as long as it remains closed. This is the whole premise of like the Wasp in a Box technique. Now, you could get around this by using millimeter wave sensors because those are more sensitive, but oftentimes those need to be powered and it may not be a good place for the bathroom. But either way, for my use case, I have the Wasp in a Box set up for the bathroom. You can check the description to see a battle that I did with different versions of the Wasp in a Box. Actually, a pretty fun video. Just check the description. All right, so with some slight modification to the original automation, I not only know the status of the bathroom lights, but it would also toggle the music automation based on the status of the lights. All right, cool. Now, how do I gauge if this is gimmicky or not? The closest thing to what I would mean by gimmicky is probably related to the overall experience that an automation provides. For instance, does the automation disrupt your family's rhythm? Does the automation require you to do a lot but have like a tiny payout? This is where the smart home user experience heuristics come in with that main character energy. These are 7 principles developed through trial and error over the experiences of the smart home community. To put it real simple, these heuristics make automation experiences better. That's pretty much it. Let me show you a few principles, right? Principle 1, automation shouldn't give you more work to do. Check. This bathroom automation doesn't really require anything from the user besides aside from their presence. Principle 2, automation should not require specialized knowledge. Yeah, this makes sense. We simply turn on the lights and then you get a pleasant surprise, and then when you turn off the lights, the music stops. So check. Automation should not introduce ambiguity. Now, this would be relevant in cases where automations need explicit user input or tries to alert occupants. So this doesn't really apply to us fully, so we'll skip that one. But essentially, after applying and going through all 7 principles, the heuristics did find a problem. Principle 5 tells us that we need a way to opt in and out of an automation, especially one like this one. Now, since the bathroom automation fires indirectly, there will be times that we want the bathroom to act in a normal way, in which case we need an easy way to disable and enable that automation. Now, luckily, my smart home is prepared for such situations like this. In Home Assistant, I have a selector that defines the various modes in my home. For example, active mode is for when people are home during wake hours. And if the house is empty, then the state of the home goes into protected, which basically activates alarms and increases security. The ambient bathroom music automation can use these states to know when to fire. In this case, if my home goes into guest mode, the automation would fire, otherwise it'll just behave normally. This is pretty cool and a great addition to this particular automation because it improves the longevity of it and makes it less annoying. It also reduces the gimmickiness of it and evening out the whole user experience, so pretty cool. Now, if you're interested in learning more about these heuristics, you can check out the video where I actually use them to improve the automation from Smart Home Solver and Brett Tech. Pretty dope video, you can check it in the link in the description. Okay, now with the first automation done, it was time to tackle the music DJ automation. I love music, like a lot, but I've never been into traditional pop culture music. As a teenager, when my friends and I were old enough to drive, it was an unspoken rule that the person riding shotgun gets to control the radio. Yeah, this was before the times of like iPads and streaming music. Now, unfortunately for me, I rode shotgun a lot since I was the tallest one in the group, and I needed the leg room, which meant I had the ungodly pleasure of keeping everyone in the car entertained. Those were some core memories. Core memories were created then. Now that people are coming over to my house, I'm not going to take on that pressure. In the living room, I have a Google speaker that can play music, and the automation should technically democratize that responsibility and make the selection of music like available to the guests. Now, I'm invested in getting this to work, so I'm going to put in some work to get this going. Now, this felt like a really big ask. I didn't know any automations off the top of my head that will do this particular thing, and as you're going to notice, there was a lot of complications. So let's actually walk through it. Let's walk through it. To solve this automation, right, let's imagine the possible experiences guests would go through depending on what we choose. Since this is a smart speaker, someone could just use a voice command to play music, but it's technically pretty awkward to use voice commands in public, and especially in situations where it can be kind of noisy. Now, people could use a Spotify app on their phone, but I would have to put them onto my account. And I like my friends, but nah, I'm not. This isn't going to work. The other way around is we could just give them, let's say, a family iPad, something that has Spotify on it. This is viable, but I would like to do a little bit better because I don't want to give them like a whole new device just for them to control the music. It would be nicer if guests could use a device that they have. So the next idea was to give them access via Home Assistant. Each person could log into, let's say, a guest account that only gives them access to the Home Assistant music player. Now, this one feels like a small step backwards since users would have to download the Home Assistant app and then log in, which introduces too much friction in my opinion. Now, I like the idea of giving users a dashboard, but I need one that can basically access special guest-friendly functionality within my smart home, but does not require user login. This led me to the 5th idea, making a custom dashboard myself. Yeah, so I'm talking about like using HTML, CSS, JavaScript, spin up a server, serve files from like an IP address that can only be accessed within my network. Like, it felt like a lot of work. This led me to like idea 6, and this is where I think I hit a banger. When I first discovered Node-RED, I poked around trying to figure out how it worked, and one of the things that I briefly saw was like dashboards, but I didn't understand like how it worked or its purpose, but inspiration said that this was the answer. And I think this may work, to be honest. Node-RED provides like a no-code way to create dashboards that feel a bit similar to old school Home Assistant dashboards. Like, you can create different tabs, and in each of the tabs you can add text, gauges, tables, images, inputs, so much more. Now, if you're comfortable with CSS, you could have the added ability to do like custom colors and reposition things in like interesting ways that suits your needs. But because this dashboard was built within Node-RED, what I like the most is that this automatically becomes accessible via an internal IP address, which requires no user login. And if you're comfortable with CSS, you have the ability to add custom colors, reposition items based off of your needs, and so much more. And because this dashboard resides within Node-RED, it automatically comes with an IP address that's only accessed internally on your network. But the thing I love the most is that since you can use Node-RED to create automations and access Home Assistant devices, all of that power and flexibility is available to those dashboards that you create. Now, to show you what I mean, let's take a look at this demo dashboard I created for this video sponsors, SwitchBot. SwitchBot sent over their smart home door lock and asked me to test out how easy it is to connect it to Home Assistant and create some custom automations. And I appreciated that because sometimes smart home companies want to lock you into their ecosystem and ban you from using their devices outside of their predetermined use cases. And we've already seen how that worked out for some of those other companies.
So the Lock Pro makes traditional US and EU deadbolts smarter by offering various adapters and mounting plates, which makes it great if you are renting or you just don't feel like rekeying your original locks. Along with being able to use like your existing key, you can get the keypad, which lets you use like one-time passcodes, your fingerprint, voice control, and like 12 other different entry methods. It even lets you use your Apple Watch. Now I have the lock paired to the SwitchBot Hub 2, but if you don't have a hub, you can get the SwitchBot Hub Mini, which is Matter enabled, and also brings me to the point of why I partnered with SwitchBot, and also the point of why I'm bringing it up now.
With SwitchBot's lock, I was able to easily add it to Home Assistant and create Node-RED automations that toggle the lock. And using Node-RED's dashboards, I can not only show the status of the lock, but also give users the ability to lock it. And notice this, even though I had the ability to both lock and unlock it, I can choose only to make locking the door available to that dashboard. Yeah, wild. Now, if you would like to try out this lock from SwitchBot, check the link in the description. It's an affiliate link, so I do get a small commission, but at no extra cost to you. So knowing the perks of using Node-RED's dashboards and knowing that I can make creative automations, you can probably guess what I did. Yeah, I attached K to it. Yeah, I wrote K using Node-RED, and because Node-RED gives me the ability to use things that I've already created in it, in my dashboards, it felt like a no-brainer. If you don't know, K is my AI smart home chatbot, and because of Node-RED, it allowed me to surgically select features that I want from K, in particular, the part that lets me play and recommend music and make it available to the dashboard. Fam, like, I need y'all to make some noise, scream, I don't know, do something, throw your computer. Like this, when I saw that this worked, man, bruh, this was so cool. I had to put a frost warning on this video. This was undoubtedly like the moment of doing that and seeing it work, seeing it just respond back was so freaking amazing. Combining K with Music Assistant, this dashboard transformed from like a scrappy dashboard into like a dope app. Like this was, I have no words, man. I have no words. I'm able to ask K about the song that's currently playing. I can see the songs that are currently playing, ask it to stop and ask it for suggestions and have it add it to the list. This was, oh my God. Okay. I'm moving on. Imagine my surprise when I applied, like this was so cool. Imagine my surprise that when I applied the smart home heuristics to this, it found an issue. The insider knowledge principle stated that the automation should not require specialized knowledge. And as it stands, guests won't know the IP address of these dashboards, and they don't even know how to get onto my Wi-Fi. So we have to solve that. And just to call something out and to be transparent, these principles, they're not absolute. Like they're designed to make you think through your design of your automations, help you to discover user experience holes. But user experiences can be very subjective. So for instance, the IP and Wi-Fi conundrum that I have may not be an issue for you, especially if let's say you are the only one using the app, or if this is something that you've installed onto everyone's phone. Like the reasons could vary. But for me in this situation, I needed to make it easier for folks to access all of this without actually disrupting security. And this is where my wife gave me a very interesting idea. By accident, mind you, but still, she gave it to me. To help our guest, what she added to her decorations was a stand that held the guest Wi-Fi password. Now, this was a great self-service way to share something that you know people will ask for. And this gave me an interesting idea. What if I add a QR code somewhere close to the Wi-Fi password? That way, when people see it, they can scan it and it'll take them directly to the music app. Yeah, so putting it all together, guests would hang out in our living room. They have an easy access and line of sight to the Wi-Fi password. If they have to use a bathroom, they not only get the lights turning on and off automatically for them, but it plays soft music, jazz or lo-fi. And then when they leave, of course, the lights turn off by themselves. And if guests want to liven up the party, then they can scan the QR code and interact with Kay to get song suggestions, learn about what's currently playing, add songs to the queue.
Let me give you a demo of the app.
The experience starts before the app even opens. I print the QR code using this label maker by Nelco. The app is filled with features and even lets you create the QR code within it. Yeah, it's cheap, but it really gets the job done. As long as you're on the house network when you scan the code, the app will appear. Now this app is created entirely by Node-RED using nodes. And since I'm familiar with HTML and CSS, I was able to add a little extra styling for some of the parts here. These are the 4 nodes responsible for the view. The message node provides the input box. The template here provides the conversation section. This template node at the bottom is responsible for the music information. And this button node is responsible for the stop button. When I type a message in the input box, this section of the code will add that message to any existing or saved messages and then show it onto the screen. My message is also passed along to GPT, along with some information from Home Assistant like what speaker entities are available and the functions that it can call that's specifically for music. I find that GPT is able to handle most of my requests fairly well, and when it does come back with information, it's sent to Kay to interpret. Depending on the command, Kay will try to stop the song, play a song if nothing is playing, or add the song to the queue if something is currently playing.
What do you recommend if I wanted to get hype?
Lastly, it'll send a message back to me acknowledging my request, and it will update the music information once it starts playing.
Oh yeah, that sounds good. Yeah, play that.
To play the music, I'm leveraging the Music Assistant add-on. It's a beefy add-on, but it's pretty powerful and allows me to play music from Spotify through Home Assistant. Bro, this is delightful. I think I did it. That was delightful. I bet that some of you would like to try this out. But as you see, or as you've seen, this was created purely within Node-RED. You can't do this with native Home Assistant. I wish you could. I really wish you could, but you can't. At least not that I know of. And at least not right now, at this moment. Maybe sometime in the future we can.
One quick thing. This video was created and shot and produced before Home Assistant added like GPT to assist natively. So I don't know if it's able to do something like that now within the dashboard using Assist. You might be able to, not entirely sure, but this does offer, this video still stands, like it still offers a new way of dealing with that. Just wanted to call that out just in case. Tech videos like these tend to invalidate themselves like literally the moment you make them. This is one of those cases, or it could be one of those cases, I'm not sure. Just wanted to call it out.
Bottom line is you need to know Node-RED in order to do this. And some of you, most of you, a lot of you from what I hear in feedbacks don't know what Node-RED is, or you know of it but don't find it user-friendly, or as I've heard from before, it doesn't match the way that you think about code and it's just not your thing. That's fine. I get it. But bro, like, you saw what I created. I would love for you guys to try that too. Like, who doesn't want to try that? So how about this? This is what I think I can help. I'm currently working on a course designed for Home Assistant users to get them up and running using Node-RED. And in that course, I have a section for building dashboards using Node-RED, just like what you saw in this video. Now, the whole purpose of the course isn't just for the dashboards. That's just like a small portion of it from what I'm planning on creating. The main idea is that what was once a simple automation, something where I was just going to have people be able to scan for music and just put it in and just be done, turned into something much more dynamic, much more fun, much more user, was just more by adding in AI. And I think this is where we're heading. Using AI in our automations in fun ways like this, I see this sticking, but right now it's in its infancy and it may be a little while before that becomes a thing. So you have two choices. You can either sit and wait and have corporations, companies, other folks decide what that experience is going to be for you, or you can take matters into your own hand, learn it, and create it for yourself. And basically defined and demand what things should look like. So this course is basically me mind dumping all of my skills and expertise, teaching the basics of Node-RED so you can understand how that works, but more importantly, showing you how to create automations and incorporating AI into it. So that way you can do cool stuff like this. And when you see me do stuff like this, it's just, hey, that's a cool idea. Let me do it for myself, instead of, hey, that's a cool idea. I wish I can do that. I digress. Point being is, check the link in the description. You can see all about the course and decide if it's something for you. Do with it what you will. Bye.